Welcome to HarlanEllisonBooks.com. I'm Harlan Ellison, and I'm here to try and sell you books. It is a filthy job, but someone had to do it, and it's been given to me by my publisher, Jason Davis, who is standing behind the camera. We have two new books. These are the two new books. Brain Movies number 5, which features the dark forces, about which I will talk more in a moment. And this is a very interesting little book called Honorable Whoredom at a penny a word. And these are stories that have never been released in book form before. They've all been published in very cheap magazines way back near the beginning of my career. And they are mostly, in this book are mostly hard-boiled street gang and crime stories. All of them fairly violent, and all of them mildly interesting. I sold them for a penny a word. I would sit up all night in New York City with my manual typewriter, my Olympia manual typewriter, in a $10 a week room on 611 West 114th Street, across from Columbia University, across Broadway. And I would sit all night and I would write a short story, and I would take it down the next day. And I would take it down to the various magazines. And I would leave it off, and they would read it and eventually either buy it or reject it, because I couldn't get an agent. At that time, I was just starting. But I found markets that would eventually buy my stories. And I started selling. And in those days, the rate you got, if you got a decent rate, was a penny a word. If it was at the very, very lowest extreme on the totem pole, it was a half a cent a word when you caught them. And some of the places I took them to were magazines like Trapped and Guilty and True Men, and take it down to Argosy. And if I was lucky, I would sell it to somebody who could pay me a little more than a penny a word. But a lot of those stories were written early on. They ain't bad stories. They're not like the story that I had in the Best American Short Stories, The Man Who Rode Christopher Columbus Ashore. They were Honorable Whoredom at a penny a word. And this is the 5th in the Brain Movies series. And this one is made up to look like a TV guide. Jason and his art director, Bo, very cleverly imitated the facade of TV Guide and called it HE Guide. And all of the little shows that are here, that are listed, are actual shows of mine that were on the air one time or another, or have been printed one time or another. The Dark Forces I created in the 60s, early 70s. And it's a very long 2-hour script. And it's all in there with all my corrections in my hand, done on my typewriter. So in a way, this is my Dr. Strange. And it's a very long, very good script. And it was going to be made. And as usual, Hollywood burped, and it fell between the stools, and it never got made. Then we were going to do it as a series of paperbacks, the Dark Forces paperbacks. And I had a contract. And I had a contract for 12 of them. And they did this as the cover for the first one, which sat in my drawer for years and years. And now, for the first time, that 2-hour movie is in here. And maybe after you read it and you like it, some movie company will say, you know, that's a hell of a movie. And they'll make it. And it'll be because you bought the book and talked about it. Because I know all of you are hooked and connected. But there it is. Brain Movies number 5. Done by Edgeworks Abbey, in collaboration with the great Jason Davis, and overseen by my beautiful wife Susan. And I have now huckstered you for far too long, and you've been very patient putting up with me, and I thank you. We're sitting in my house, the Lost Aztec Temple of Mars, and you see behind me many of the art pieces I have. And I'm doing okay, and I hope you are too. And go thee well. Buy my books.